Imagine this. It's a scenario that feels like it's ripped straight out of a crime thriller.
Okay, I'm listening.
You have a husband and a wife. They're the only owners, the only two directors of a private limited company. They basically are the business, all the shares, all the decisions.
A small setup. So high stakes. I'm guessing this doesn't end well.
Not at all. In this case study, it's case number 1 in our stack here. Tragedy strikes. And it's dramatic. Both of them, the husband and the wife, are killed by bandits.
Oh, wow. That's horrific.
In just an instant, every single human being tied to the management and ownership of that company is just gone.
That's a terrible situation, the kind of thing you'd see in a headline.
It is. But we're here to look at the legal aftermath. Because the first question that pops into a lawyer's mind isn't about the police investigation, it's this. If every human is dead, did the company die with them?
It sounds a bit cold when you put it like that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that question, that's really the bedrock of what we're digging into today. Company law.
Exactly. Does the bank account just freeze forever? Does the whole legal entity just vanish?
And the short answer is no. The company is actually just fine.
And that, right there, is our hook. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are wading into a whole stack of legal case studies. These are real exam problems, court precedents, all exploring the pretty bizarre and counterintuitive world of the corporation.
And we're not just looking at dry regulations. I mean, these sources are like mini dramas. We've got everything from circus assets and forged signatures to, directors trying to pull a fast one.
I always thought corporate law was just endless paperwork and boring meetings. But looking at these notes, it's really about this clash between human messiness, our greed, our mistakes.
Our mortality.
Right. All of that clashing with this rigid legal structure.
Precisely. The main character in all of these stories is this legal fiction, the corporation. And our mission today is to figure out how this invisible thing can exist separately from the people running it and, who's left holding the bag when it all goes wrong.
Okay, let's go back to that tragic couple. You said the company survives. How does that even work? If the brain and the heart of the business are gone, how is the business still alive?
It all comes down to a concept called perpetual succession. You see, in the eyes of the law, a company is a separate legal entity. It's a person.
Not a human person, obviously.
Not a biological one, no,
Well,
but a juristic person. It has its own identity.
so it has its own ID card, effectively.
Exactly. Its own name, its own rights. There's a famous line from the sources, members may come and members may go, but the company can go on forever. The death of its members, even all of them, doesn't kill the company.
So, practically speaking, who owns it then?
Well, the shares are property, just like a house or a car. So they just pass to the legal heirs of the husband and wife.
Yeah.
The company itself doesn't even blink. This whole idea was really cemented in the foundational case of company law, Salomon v. Salomon.
That's the one that created the veil between the owner and the company, isn't it?
That's the one, Mr. Salomon. He was a bootmaker. He sold his business to a company that he himself created. When the company went bust, the creditors tried to go after him personally.
Yeah.
The court said no. Once it's incorporated, the company is not you, and you are not the company. A veil is drawn between you.
So it's almost like the company has its own soul.
In a legal sense, yes. And that soul shields the humans behind it.
There's another case here, number 26, that really drives this home. It's just as grim. It describes a private company where all the members die together in a van
A
accident.
terrible coincidence.
Yeah.
But legally, it's the exact same result. The company does not cease to exist. The law just doesn't care that the van is empty. The company still exists on paper. It still owns its assets. It still owes its debts.
It's just so counterintuitive. I mean, if I run a bakery by myself and I die, the baking stops.
The act of baking stops, sure. But the limited company that owns the ovens and has a contract with the flour supplier, that thing is still very much alive. It's just waiting for the heirs to step in and appoint new directors. That's the power of the separate legal entity.
Okay, so this legal person is immortal. It can survive accidents, bullets, you name it. But if it's a person, can it do whatever it wants? Can it wake up one day and decide to pivot from, I don't know, banking to building rockets?
Now you're asking about its limits. Because being immortal doesn't mean it's all powerful. This gets us into the idea of ultravirus.
Sounds like a spell from Harry Potter.
It does have that ring to it. It's Latin for beyond the powers. And this brings us to case 37. Picture this. A company is formed, and its main document, its memorandum, says its purpose is banking.
Okay, so loans, deposits, Standard financial stuff.
Right, that's the box it has to live in. But then the directors get, I don't know, ambitious. They decide, you know what, let's build a railway line.
That's a pretty big pivot, from ledgers to locomotives.
A slight one, yeah. So they sign a contract to build this railway. The shareholders find out, and they are furious. They say, hang on, we invested in a bank, not a train set.
I'm guessing the shareholders win this one?
They do, but the reason why they win is what's key. It's not just that it was a bad business decision. The court ruled that the contract was void ab initio.
Void from the beginning.
Exactly. Legally, it never existed. Because the company was only created to be a bank, it legally, physically cannot do anything else. It's like trying to teach a fish to climb a tree. It's not just a bad idea, it's an impossibility for that entity.
So it's not you shouldn't do this, it's you literally can't do this.
Precisely. And here's the really sticky part. Even if every single shareholder got together and said, you know what, we actually love trains, let's vote to approve this.
They can't do it.
They can't. You cannot ratify a void act. If the company never had the power in the first place, no amount of voting later can breathe life into it. The contract is just dead.
That seems incredibly strict. Case 27 mentions something similar about a company buying property when it wasn't allowed to in its charter.
And it's the same result. The purchase is void. If you're the one selling the building to that company, you can't enforce the contract. You're just left holding the deed because you didn't check if this immortal person was allowed to buy a house.
So this immortal being is stuck in a straitjacket made of its own paperwork.
That's a great way of putting it. It's really to protect the shareholders. You invest in a bakery, you don't want to wake up and find your money is being used to drill for oil.
Fair enough. But the company doesn't run itself. It needs people, directors. And looking at this next batch of cases, well, people are messy.
Oh, people are very messy. And when directors try to use the company to play games, they usually find out the hard way that the law is watching.
I love case number 3. It reads like a heist movie for accountants. Okay, so Company X is broke. No cash to pay its directors. But the directors also owe the company money for their shares.
A classic standoff. I owe you, you owe me. But no one has any actual money.
So they come up with this plan. They pay the money they owe for the shares into the company's bank account. Then immediately, maybe even the same hour, they write themselves checks for their director's fees from that exact same money.
A circular transaction. Just washing the money through the account.
And they think they're geniuses. Look, I've paid for my shares, and oh, look at that, I've also been paid my fees.
But the courts have seen this trick before.
Yeah.
In a case called Washington Diamond Mining, this was called out for exactly what it is. A sham. It's a fraudulent preference.
Fraudulent preference. That sounds bad.
It is. You can't use a financial sleight of hand to pay yourself first when the company's failing. The court just says, nope, that transaction didn't happen. Their liability isn't discharged.
So they still owe for the shares?
They're in the exact same position as if they'd never paid. They tried to cheat the system, and the system didn't fall for it.
Here's another one. Case 29. A whole-time director is on the payroll using company resources. And while he's on the clock, he invents something.
Okay, innovation. That's good.
But he patents it in his own name. He says, my brain, my invention, my profit.
Oh no, that is a massive misunderstanding of his job. That is a breach of fiduciary duty.
Let's break that down. Fiduciary duty.
A director isn't just an employee, he's a fiduciary.
Huh?
He's entrusted to act only in the company's best interest. It's a relationship of, absolute trust. If you use the company's time or resources to create something, that creation belongs to the company, period.
So you can't wear the team jersey and then score for yourself.
Perfect analogy. He has to hand over the patent and every single penny he made from it.
Now, those are cases about greed. But case number 20, this one is genuinely scary. It's about how a tiny typo can basically ruin you.
Ah, yes. The case of the missing limited.
Exactly. So directors of a public limited company sign a bill of exchange. It's basically an IOU, but they forget to write the word limited after the company's name.
A fatal mistake.
So because they miss one little word, who ends up paying the bill?
The directors do, personally.
That's terrifying. You lose the entire corporate shield because of a suffix.
You do. The logic is that word limited is a warning sign to the public. It says, be aware. The liability of this entity is restricted. The people behind it aren't on the hook. Only the company's assets are.
And if you forget to put up the warning sign,
then you are personally liable. If you don't warn the creditor they're dealing with a limited entity, the law just assumes they're dealing with you. It's strict compliance. If you want the protection of the shield, you have to wear the uniform perfectly.
I'm making a mental note. If I'm ever a director, I'm getting limited tattooed on the back of my hand.
It's probably the most expensive word you could ever forget to write.
Okay, let's shift focus to the people on the outside. What about innocent folks trying to do business with these companies? Can they trust what they see?
This is where we get the big clash between what's called indoor management and the problem of forgery.
Case 16 is a bit of a heartbreaker. There's this athlete, Roja. She buys shares in a company, gets a share certificate, looks totally official. Company seal, 2 director signatures.
As far as she's concerned, it's 100% legit.
She pays her money. But later, the company says, whoops, sorry, Roja. Our secretary forged those signatures. Your certificate is worthless.
And they refuse to put her on the shareholder register.
My gut reaction is that this is so unfair. She acted in good faith. She paid them. Why should she be the one to lose out?
It is a harsh outcome. But the ruling in a very similar case, Rubin v. Great Fingal, is crystal clear. Roja loses. The company is not liable.
But why? I thought there was a rule, the indoor management rule, that says outsiders don't have to check a company's internal procedures.
There is, and that doctrine usually protects you. It says you're not expected to know if they held the right board meeting or whatever.
Yeah.
But the courts drew a very hard line when it comes to forgery.
What's the line?
Indoor management covers irregularities, things done badly. It does not cover forgeries. A forgery is a nullity. It's a complete nothing.
Yeah.
Legally, that certificate never existed.
So the company can't be held to something that doesn't exist?
Exactly. Think of the alternative. If forgeries were binding, one rogue employee could bankrupt an entire company and wipe out all the honest shareholders. The law chose to protect the company's integrity over the individual victim.
So buyer beware, even if the paperwork looks perfect.
Unfortunately, yes.
Uh-huh.
Now, speaking of people who can't claim they didn't know,
Right.
let's talk about the double director problem. Cases 9 and 14. This is where it gets a little complicated.
You have 2 companies, let's call them Company A and Company B. A lends money to B, but Company B didn't follow its own rules for taking out that loan.
Hey.
Normally, Company A could say, hey, we didn't know you broke your own rules, pay us back. And the indoor management rule would protect them, right?
Correct. The lender is usually protected from the borrower's internal mess.
But here's the twist. The directors of Company A are the exact same people as the directors of Company B.
And that changes everything.
Because they're the same people. How can they possibly claim they didn't know that Company B broke the rules?
They can't. It's just common sense. You can't put on your Company A hat and pretend you don't know what you just did wearing your Company B hat. You have the same brain.
It's like trying to lie to yourself.
It is. The court said the lending company has constructive notice of the problem. Because the directors were common to both, the knowledge is imputed to both. The law respects the corporate fiction, but it won't let you use it to pretend you're stupid.
That feels right. You can't sit in both chairs and then claim you only know what's happening in one of them.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered death, fraud, typos, forgeries. But sometimes a company fails for a much simpler reason. The people just can't stand each other anymore.
The deadlock. This is the really human side of corporate law.
Case 23 paints a very familiar picture for anyone in a small business. A private company, 2 shareholders, also the 2 directors. A perfect 50-50 split.
That's a classic setup for a disaster.
And the company's making huge profits. Financially, it's a success. But the 2 of them have hit a complete deadlock. They hate each other. They can't agree on anything.
So at a 50-50 company, that means total paralysis. Nothing gets done.
One of them wants out. He wants to wind up the company and just shut it down. The other guy says, are you crazy? We're making a fortune. You can't kill a profitable business just because we don't get along.
Which sounds like a pretty logical argument, right?
Yeah.
Why kill the golden goose?
But what does the court say?
The court orders the company to be wound up.
Even though it's making money.
Even though it's profitable. It's because of the just and equitable principle.
Yeah.
The court looks at a small private company like this and sees it not just as a business, but as a quasi-partnership.
A quasi-partnership. What's that?
It means that even though it's a corporation on paper, in reality, it was founded on a relationship of mutual trust and confidence, like a marriage. If that trust is completely destroyed,
Then the foundation is gone.
the foundation is gone. It's effectively a corporate divorce. It doesn't matter if the joint bank account is full. If the relationship is irretrievably broken, the only fair thing to do is dissolve the entity, split the assets, and let everyone walk away.
Wow. That's a powerful reminder that even with all these legal structures, if the human relationships at the core rot away, the law will just pull the plug.
Just inequitable is the escape hatch. It's when the human reality makes the legal fiction impossible to continue.
So pulling this all together, the idea of a company that we're seeing from these cases is, well, it's really complex.
It is. It's a shield, but it's a very specific kind of shield.
On one hand, you have the Salomon principle. The company is immortal. It survives its owners, which allows business to go on despite human tragedy.
But then it's also incredibly fragile. It's constrained by its own rules, the whole ultra-virus thing. It's completely dependent on the honesty of its directors. And you have to get every little detail right, like the word limited.
And at the end of the day, it all falls apart if the people inside just can't get along.
It's a powerful tool, but you have to know how to use it. If you try to cheat with it, or you get sloppy, it offers no protection at all.
Before we wrap up, is there one last little twist in the stack, something to leave our listeners thinking about?
I think case 34 is the perfect final thought. It's about the trap.
The trap, okay.
So a minor, a kid under 18, is given shares in a company, maybe from a grandparent. The shares are only partly paid for.
Sounds like a nice gift.
The kid turns 18. A few months later, a dividend check shows up. He thinks, great, free money, and he cashes it.
I feel a butt coming.
A big one.
Yeah.
Shortly after, the company goes bankrupt. The liquidator comes knocking and says, there's still money owed on these shares. You're a member, you're liable, pay up.
And the kid says, wait a minute, I was a minor? I didn't agree to this.
Doesn't matter. By cashing that dividend check after he turned 18, he accepted the benefit of membership. And with that benefit comes the burden. He is now on the hook for the company's debt.
The moment he cashed that check, the trap snapped shut.
It just raises that question, when does this game of corporate law become a trap for people who aren't paying attention? We create these things for protection, but if you're not careful, the machinery can absolutely crush you.
That is a sobering thought. The law gives, and the law can take away.
It rewards vigilance, and it punishes carelessness.
So the next time you see LTD or Inc. after a company name, don't just see a word. See the massive, immortal, and sometimes very dangerous legal machine hiding behind those letters.
And maybe check to see if the directors are still talking to each other.
Definitely check that. And check for typos. That's it for this deep dive into company law. Thanks for listening.